there. Over here you also got the striker right here. It has to be secured, not twisted or bent, so when you do close the door latches onto it. You got the seals that go around the doors also. So you have to inspect that they're not ripped or torn for the leaks as well. You can point at that. Over here you can point at your door. Hinges. Yeah, the door hinges. The door hinges. Make sure that they're secured with the nuts and the bolts, not cracked or broken, that all the pins are in place. When you close the door, you say, look, as you can see, the door latch is working just like the door handle is working. Over here, you have the mirror. Once you're done with the door, start checking your mirror. Say, look, I'm going to check the bracket that's holding the mirror, making sure that it's securely mounted with all the nuts and the bolts on both ends, that it's not cracked or broken. Over here, I got to check the glass on the mirror, that it's clean, also not cracked or broken. So all that goes to the door. Once you're done with the door, well, the next section right after door, it says check the fuel area. So you move on to this area right here. You got the steps right here. Tell them, look, I'll start with my steps. I'll start by making sure that they're securely mounted with every single nut and bolt. Once I'm done doing that, I'll start checking the condition. First, making sure that they're straight, not twisted or bent or cracked. But in this case, I also have to make sure that they're clean, that they don't have any debris such as oil, grease, fuel, anything that's slippery is going to cause me to slip and fall off. Then I got these two straps right here. Those are the ones securing my tank in place. They got nuts and bolts and pins on the ends securing them. I got to make sure none of that's missing or loose. I got to check the condition of the straps, that they're not cracked or broken. In this case also that they don't have any rust corrosion or rust damage to them. This style right here of straps does not require the rubber seal in between the strap and the fuel tank. There's some that do. Make sure you tell them that these don't. Once you're done with the straps, move on to the fuel tank. Look, the fuel tank, I already made sure that it's securely mounted with the straps. Now I just got to check that the tank don't have any holes or cracks, and that I look underneath to make sure that none of the fuel is leaking from it anywhere. Over here I got the fuel cap. I always got to make sure that it's tight. Inside it does have a rubber seal or rubber gasket, whatever you want to call it, that I have to inspect that it's not ripped or torn, because I also don't want any fuel leaking from there. If you want to go ahead and talk about the chain, tell them that it does have a little safety chain to help it from falling and me losing it and stuff as well. If you come through the side right here on this truck, it's easier, because this is where you have the hoses for the fuel. You say, look, all the fuel hoses are right here on this side. Just got to make sure they're secured with their fittings on both ends. Their hose ain't ripped or torn or cut. There's no fuel leaking from the lines. All the connections are secured even at the fuel tank. And that would be your fuel area right there. It doesn't say anything, guys, about lights and reflectors on this piece of paper, but if you look at your parts list, it always says to talk about lights and reflectors. So right here, we do not have any lights, as you can see, on the side of the truck. So tell them, look, this truck doesn't have lights for me to inspect on the side, but there is a reflective sticker right here. I just got to make sure that it's not peeling off or missing big chunks, that it's clean enough to where it's visible. That's all you got to tell them. Right there, you're done with the door, you're done with the fuel area, you're done with the lights and the reflectors, and you move on to the next section. It says under the vehicle, and then it starts breaking it down into sections. It says the drive shaft. So you come over here, set your drive shaft down there, either through down there or through up here, however you want to do it. And then you just start telling them what it is that you're going to check on it. Well, I have to make sure that it's secured on both ends, front and back, with every single nut and bolt. I have to make sure that it's straight, from the front to the back, not twisted or bent or cracked. Also make sure that it doesn't have any illegal welds or repairs on it. On the ends, has U-joints running back. I just got to make sure that those U-joints are full of grease, secured, not cracked, broken. But most important, that U-joint area is clean of debris. There's nothing stuck in there that's not going to allow it to turn freely. And you're done with the drive shaft. You move to the next one. It says the exhaust. Tell them, look, this is my exhaust system right here. You got to check the muffler, the pipe, everything from the front to the back, making sure that I check every single clamp or strap, whatever you want to call them, every nut and bolt holding all this exhaust system together, checking the condition, that there's no cracks or any holes, that I don't see any soot or rust leaking from this exhaust system anymore. And you're done with the exhaust. Now it says check the frame. So right here, look, say, look, this is the frame right here. But I'm not only going to check the frame, tell them I'm also going to look at the cross members as well, making sure that neither the frame or these cross members are damaged, that there's no cracks, nothing's bent, nothing's broken, but most important, that there's no illegal welds or repairs to this frame or these cross members. I will make sure that everything is securely mounted with everything on that motor front. And you just finished with the frame. This is the difference. Not yet, I'm sorry. Then you move on to the drive axle. Anytime you see, like up here, steering axle, down here it says drive axle, down here it says trailer axle. You really don't have anything to say about that because you just got to look right below it, and it's broken down: suspension, brakes, and tires. So the drive axle over here. Start with the suspension parts first. Well, I got a spring mount right here. Some of y'all might call it a spring hanger, just depending on which group you've been around, but spring mount or spring hanger, is, you can call it either name. Tell them, look, I have two. I have one on the front, and I have one over here on the back holding my leaf springs. So I'll check that the spring mounts are secured with all their nuts and bolts, and look at the condition on them, that they're not cracked or bent or broken. And then I'll move on to the leaf springs, making sure that the leaf springs are straight from mount to mount, secured with every single nut and bolt, U-bolt, checking that there is no cracked or broken or shifted or gizzard or crossed leaf springs, and also making sure that there are no missing leaf springs there. And here you have the U-bolts. You got the two U-bolts holding the leaf springs to the axle. Tell them when checking the U-bolts, I got to look at the bottom where the nuts are to make sure that those nuts are secured and tight, and also inspect that the U-bolts are not cracked or broken. And you see how it looks like if you go U upside down, U right here. If you look on the bottom, you can see the nuts down there. So it's just a big old looking like a U-bolt. It's got nuts on the bottom. So there's normally always two, guys. So check those. If you look at your parts list, it says shock absorbers, it says airbags, it says torque arm. Well, some trucks have those parts, but this one is not equipped with any of those. So if you got a pen, well, just remember to write down next to it, hey look, there are no airbags on this truck, there are no shock absorbers on this truck, there is no torque arm on this truck, on the drive axle only, okay? And remember to tell them that. Because if you don't, they got a list and it says torque arm and it says shock absorber and it says airbag. And if you don't mention anything about it, well, at the end when they start grading your paper, they're going to count it as you got it wrong. So just simply tell them, look, this truck doesn't have those parts for me to inspect them, and that's it. And what they'll do is they'll just check off all three, and you just got it right by telling them you don't have it. So this is a real simple suspension. Like I said, spring mounts, leaf springs, and U-bolts. No shock absorbers, no torque arm, and no airbags or the air notch or anything like that. So you're done with suspension. It says move on to your brakes. Right here you got the brake hose. You can see the brake hoses right here. Anytime you're talking about brake hoses, guys, what they're listening for is that you tell them that you are going to make sure that they are secured with the fittings on both ends. Try not to say clamps, guys, say fittings. You need to check that the brake hoses are secured with the fittings, and also inspect the condition of the hose for abrasions or bulges or cuts. And then I'm also going to listen to make sure that there is no air leaking from these brake hoses. If you look down there, there's a little wire right there. That wire is the ABS wire. So just tell them, look, I also have to inspect the ABS wire. It's just a wire, so I gotta follow it to both ends, because on this end there's a connector holding it, and there's another connector holding it on the other end. So I just gotta make sure that I follow it both ways, check that both connectors are secured, and inspect the wire that is not cut or pinched or even spliced or burnt or damaged in any way.
And you just tell them that you would do that, or do you have to show them that it's connected?
You just tell them. Okay. That's all you're doing.
Just pointing in the area.
You're just pointing. You just gotta touch the wire, and you just gotta tell them what you would do. Okay. You don't physically do anything, because by the time you find one connector and the other, you can probably spend 15 minutes. Remember, you got 45. They're just there to listen to you guys. They're not there to watch you do anything to this truck. They don't want you doing anything to this truck because they know you're not a certified mechanic. Instead of doing something right, you might do something wrong. So they just gotta listen to you. That's it. You're just talking. You're just telling them. As a matter of fact, you can do this. Look, this is a spring mount. And you can turn around and tell them exactly everything you're gonna check. You don't have to be looking at it. They said point, touch, call out the name, and tell me what you're gonna check. It's that simple. They didn't say put your hands on there, put your tools, do nothing. Just tell me what it is that you would check on.
So you don't, like, when you're saying like checking for leaks and stuff, you don't actually have to physically get under there and check for leaks. You can just say,
It's just all verbal, guys. They just want to hear that you know what it is that you're supposed to inspect on these parts. So when you do this pre-trip for real on the truck, that you actually know what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? Once you check that ABS wire, this one right here, this is the brake chamber. Tell them, look, this is a brake chamber. It's got clamps, it's got nuts and bolts, securing all these parts together. I'll make sure none of those are loose or missing. And then the condition, I'll look all the way around it, making sure it's not twisted, bent, cracked, broken, and have any type of damage at all. It's filled with air, so I gotta make sure that I listen, that I don't hear any air leaking from it. Once you really have a harder time seeing, is back here, guys. This is the slack adjuster and the push rod. Kind of hidden behind this bracket back here. What I'm touching right there is actually part of the slack adjuster. The push rod is beneath it, behind that bracket, so you really can't see it. But I'll show you one over there on the front or on the back where you can see them better, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Just point right there and say, look, that's the slack adjuster, and the push rod is right below it. They're behind that bracket. See how here you can't even see them? But you're at least telling them where it's at and where they're, and that's what all that matters, you know? And whenever I do get in there to check those, I gotta make sure they're secured with the nuts and the bolts. I gotta check that they're not cracked or broken. I gotta make sure they're full of grease so they can adjust properly back and forth by themselves. And I also would have to make sure that there's no more than 1 inch of blade. And the way that I would do that is by coming over here, releasing the parking brake, and then I would get under there and pull on the slack adjuster and push rod. And that's it. Go ahead.
If you get the full truck inspection, do you have to identify the brake chamber and push rod and slack adjuster on this side and then on that side also?
What did I say at the beginning?
Okay,
only the driver's side of the vehicle has to get inspected. The only reason you go to the other side is for unique parts.
Yes. Okay.
That's it. It's the same explanation on this side that it would be on that side. They don't want you wasting your time over there. So once you cover that, then back here, inside the rim area, that's where you have the brake drums and the brake shoes with the lining on them. On this truck, you can't see them because there's a dust cover in there or a rock cover in there. So you just got to do your best and point inside here and say, look, behind this cover, inside there, that's where my brake drums are at. That's where my brake shoes are at. The drum, I'll make sure that it's securely mounted, it's not cracked, bent, broken. They don't have any rust, corrosion, or pitting of any type. The brake shoes, I got to check the lining on them to make sure that that lining is not dangerously thin. That I still have at least 1/4 of an inch left or more of the material, the lining there. And I gotta check all these parts that they're clean of oil, grease, any type of debris that's not gonna allow my brakes to work correctly. The drums and the shoes and the liners. Right there, you would have been done pointing at all the brake parts. So you move on to the next section. So once you're done with brakes, it says check your tires now. So for the tires, you just kind of walk right here to this side and say, hey, look, here I have 2 tires side by side. So I am allowed recaps if I want to use them. Once I'm done, once you talk about that, say, look, first thing I got to do here is start checking for the thread to make sure I still have at least 2 32nds of an inch thread on each tire. Next, I would go ahead and make sure that the tires are wearing evenly, checking them both from side to side. You can even go as far as telling them that you would also make sure that the tires are the same size. It doesn't have to be the same kind of tire. They just got to be the same size of tire. It can be 2 completely different brands, just as long as the size matches. Then I'll start checking the condition, making sure these tires don't have any abrasions, any bulges, any cuts, any holes, punctures, any type of damage you can think of, guys, that you want to tell them. On the sides, the inside, both, the top, anywhere, all around the tire, looking for the condition, checking the condition. You can even go as far as telling them that you'll also make sure that the tire has been mounted evenly on the rim on both sides. And then the air pressure. Well, for the air pressure, tell them you got to find the valve stems. Point at the valve stems and tell them there's 2. There's 1 valve stem on each rim. And I got to make sure that those valve stems ain't loose, they're not cracked, they're not leaking air. And as you can see, I don't have a pressure gauge, but you would just tell them. I would take a pressure gauge and just put it on there to make sure that each tire is filled to the manufacturer's specification, or that each tire is filled to at least 100 pounds of pressure. Like I said, you don't have to have it on you. You just got to tell them that that's how you would do it. Then I'll move on to the rims. Got to check both rims, inside and out, making sure they're securely mounted. Checking that they're not cracked, they're not bent, broken, dented, anything like that. Since I do have 2 rims, I gotta look inside here, making sure that the rims have been when they were tightened, they were actually butted up all the way against one another. That there's no space or gap in between them, or anything stuck inside them between the rims. Also that there's nothing stuck in between the tire area inside here. If anything gets stuck in there, it throws us off balance, you know. So tell them, this style of rims does not require a spacer in between the 2 rims. And another thing I got to check on the rims, which is one of the most important things, is that they don't have any legal welds or repairs on them. The lug nuts and the studs. You gotta make sure that the lug nuts ain't cracked or broken, or there's none of them missing. The studs, that they're not twisted or bent, distorted, or stripped or worn. And that I don't see any shiny metal or rust trails on either of those, because those are signs that they would be loose. Right here, there is an axle seal on the inside right here. But I have to make sure that everything is securely mounted and that seal is not leaking any oil from the edge right there. As you can see that it's not. And there's another seal on the inside too, but at least point at this one and they're good enough. And right there, you're done talking about everything on your tires. Tires, rims, valve stems, lug nuts. No spacer in between the 2. Everything's good in there. Axle seal. So we just covered all the tires. Up to this point, both lists are identical. But here's where it changes for the Class A and the Class B. The next section for the Class A says, check your coupling devices. Over here, it says move on to the rear of the truck. So what I tell everybody, whether you're here for a Class A or B, if you're going down this list and you see that it says coupling devices, because you're here for the Class A, just skip it and do what the Class B guys would do, which is go to the rear of the truck, skip that section, finish off back there, and then come back to the coupling devices. So back here, that's the tire. Look, I got my mud flaps back here. I'll start with the bracket that's securing them in place. Checking that it's securely mounted, and as you can see, all this holding this is that little cotter key right there. That's all it is. Make sure that pin or cotter key ain't missing. Checking the condition of the brackets, that they're not cracked or broken anywhere. Then making sure that the mud flaps are secured with the nuts and the bolts to the bracket. Checking the condition, that they're not ripped or torn. And that you look over there and you see that you're not missing any of the mud flaps, that you always have both of them. Also, making sure that they are within 8 inches of the ground right here. You got some more reflective sticker. Same thing as over there. I'll make sure that this reflective sticker is also not peeling off, missing big chunks. That it's clean enough to where it's visible. Here you do have the lights right next to it, so point at the lights, tell them, look, I gotta make sure that all the lights back here are securely mounted, they're not cracked or broken, they don't have any moisture build up inside of them. They're all the correct color. These should be red, and that one should be white. Call out the names. As far as the functions on these red ones, there's 4 functions. They're turn signals, and this is the left turn signal, and that one over there is the right turn signal. So point them out. That's one function. Another function together, they're my brake lights, or stop lights, whatever you want to call them. The third, that they're my 4-way flashers or emergency lights or hazard lights, whatever you might call them. And then the fourth is that they're the tail lights, because when you turn the headlights on, the tail lights turn on as well at night. So those are your 4 functions there. And then the right one, well, that's just the reverse light. It just has that one function, and that's it. On your parts list, after lights and reflectors, it says no doors, no ties, and no lifts. Why? Because this truck doesn't have that. So if you're doing a Class B, this was the last section, or for any one of y'all actually, everyone can say, look, as you can see, I'm kind of standing behind the truck right here, and you can see that there are no doors, there are no ties. By ties, guys, we're talking about like the chains, the straps, rope, anything you would use to tie a load down. You know how some trucks have them hanging there, or they got them in the toolbox secured somewhere. But we don't have anything on these trucks. So just tell them you don't have it. And the lifts, well, some trucks have like a delivery lift, like some box trucks and stuff, which again we don't have either, because we've got a trailer, or you just ain't gonna have anything at all. Just tell them, look, there's no doors, there's no ties, and there's no lifts for me to inspect, and they'll just check that off of their list. And if you were doing the Class B, if you're here for the Class B license, at this point, you're done. But let me go ahead and do the coupling devices for those guys that are here for the Class A. Everybody's here for the Class A. At this point, when you finish there, tell them, okay, look, I'm going to go back to those coupling devices that I had skipped that section. So you come over here,